So in the last video, what we have seen is we have seen how the internet is being built. We have seen tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 ISP service providers. We also saw that there are different types of devices that is actually making it possible for the communication across the globe possible, right? And we also saw some of the proprietary standards like the IBM standard, the DECnet standards, and we also identified and understood that there is real need of a standard which is acceptable and everybody across the world is actually adhering to. If they don't met the standard, then if they are building some proprietary protocols, the problem is their devices, whichever vendor is actually building, their devices are going to work, but since that information is not shared across, the people, other vendors will not be able to meet that standard, and the communication is going to be very difficult. Now from there, now in this video we are going to get introduced to some of the models or the architectures, or we can call it as a set of standards and document. Major two models or architecture that has actually come into life was the TCP IP model and OSI model. We will have a quick review of the history of how the TCP IP and OSI model was actually kind of framed, and then we will get into a little bit in detail about what TCP IP model is, and also we'll do a contrast of OSI model. But let's start with the TCP IP model, and then let's also see the history of how these models has come into play. So starting in 1970, there was something called as a period for protocol wars. So basically, what has to be the standard? What is the framework that we need to use? What is the model? What is the architecture that we have to use? And along that kind of protocol war period existed between 1970 and 1990, and almost at the end of or mid of 1990, I would say, TCP IP model was actually widely accepted, overtaking all other kind of models like the OSI models. So there were two major competing models, as I told. One is the TCP IP and another is the OSI model. We will see what are the differences of these models and what are the commonality among these particular models. But first and foremost, who was the winner in this? It was the TCP IP model, and the TCP IP model became the winning proposition. There are different news about it. One of the major widely accepted reason for TCP IP model to be as the standard was that the kind of innovation, the pace with which this model can kind of adapt was pretty much better than the OSI model. So whatever is the reason, by this time, I think most of the models you will be having is the TCP IP model, if not all. Now, as I told earlier, when we talk about the models, when we talk about the architecture, it is nothing but a set of standards. So that means there should be a written document about the standards and protocols and how this system should behave in a certain manner. And those things are actually identified and documented in something called RFC, request for comment. And the link you are seeing there, right there, which is like https www.rfc-editor.org. That is where you will be able to see all the standards. And at some point in this video, we are going to show you how you will be able to find a specific standard, and then it's very important for you to read through that standard at least at high level, so that you understand how the standards are actually being created and where you can go and find these standards.